Talent. It is a hard game to talk about because I just want to tell you to buy it immediately. If you're looking for a single-player sword-fighting VR game, you found it. And hear me out, I've played Blade Sorcery for years, so when this game first released, I figured it was nothing special. But let's talk about why it is.
Oh my... dang. Need a hand?
You see, virtual reality, and specifically virtual reality combat, has gotten so realistic over the years that I swear that they must be using this to test how much of the gamer population is actually a threat to society, right? Like...
You're next.
But anyways, Blade Sorcery fulfills the melee combat power fantasy by letting you chop through dozens of incompetent fighters who can barely stand on their own 2 feet. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, it's satisfying, it's... boring? I can't be the only one who thinks Blade Sorcery lacks challenge. And as fun as it is to download different mods for weapons and enemy reskins, none of these add much depth to the existing gameplay. In this way, and in several more that I'll point out soon, Battle Talent feels like the complete opposite of Blade Sorcery, taking elements of Blade Sorcery that can be frustrating or unrealistic, and doubling down on making them work in VR as actual gameplay mechanics. Of course, there's always a trade-off. For example, Blade Sorcery enemies notoriously cannot stand it when you grab their limbs. However, in Battle Talent, enemies are built like tanks. You'd be lucky to knock one of them off their feet without taking a limb off too. So, which game is better overall? Well, with both games constantly being updated, I can't answer you there. But if you're looking for a deeper, more challenging physics-based combat simulator, well, look no further.
Okay, please be a weapon. Yes! Another crossbow? I can't use that with both hands. I loaded the crossbow as a crossbow bolt. What is happening here? I can just shoot. Wait. Can I shoot anything? This is probably the best weapon in the game. Uh-oh. That's actually, I should point that out. There's a durability system. So if I'm just spamming one weapon that's really good, they will take it away.
Part of what makes Battle Talent so challenging is the realistic weight to all the weapons. Virtual objects, even though they might look heavy, have no real weight. They're made up of ones, zeros, pixels, polygons, or whatever. So a challenge that most VR games have to overcome is how to make holding objects in VR feel real, with the limited technology at their disposal. These VR controllers work as great representations of your hands, but usually they're not so great when the game is trying to convince you that you're holding onto something larger. On top of that, in some games, objects can clip into each other, or your hands, or walls, and that just breaks your immersion further. So to fix this, some VR developers have implemented colliders and drags. So while your empty hands move perfectly in sync with your controllers, when you're swinging an oversized hammer, it drags behind your hands and has to catch up. So instead of just wiggling your weapons at enemies to hit them, you actually have to swing them with intent, realistically almost. And while it's a little bouncy and not quite perfect, it adds so much to the gameplay in the intensity of battle. And battle is the name of the game. Well, half the name of the game. The other half is talent, which you'll need to survive these levels. With over 80 enemy variations, 100 unlockable weapons, and 60 perks and spells at your disposal, that means you'll always have a new challenge to overcome or a new skill to master. Oh, yeah, there's also a skill tree where you can unlock abilities like an air dash, or my favorite is this kick, and if you do it mid-air, you can like Mario spring up into the air.
Whoa!
Let's just say it can lead to some clip-worthy highlights, but only if you're talented enough to pull them off. It takes a lot of practice to figure out this game completely, and it takes even longer to beat it on its hardest difficulty. There is a very high skill ceiling for this game. The realistic weight of the weapons in this VR game made me go down a YouTube rabbit hole of learning about different historical weapons and how they were used, and then terribly imitating that fighting style in VR. So for example, because of the simulated weight in this game, this huge Irish longsword might be too slow to slash haphazardly, so I turned to YouTube and Googled longsword techniques and found a better stance and an attack pattern to strike faster. And the funny thing is, it kind of worked. And that brings me to my next point. Everything in Battle Talent feels earned. In Blade and Sorcery, because it's just a sandbox, everything is handed to you from the beginning, so there's no reason to keep playing once you've tried everything. Which then leads you to mods, but once again, once the novelty of first playing around with a new item wears off, I'm left feeling empty, like there's no real point to keep fighting. You're a warrior without a cause, but Battle Talent gives you a purpose to your fights. You become stronger because of a leveling system and because you're actually becoming more skillful, more battle talented. See what I did there? Because each level starts you off with only a specific weapon or two. Since you have to use the given weapon, you have a reason to try out and practice with each item in the game, or at least use it until you steal an enemy's weapon. But that's surprisingly hard to do because the enemies actually fight back in this game.
I'm cornered! Cut to a Marvel character saying, yeah, that just happened.
A max difficulty dungeon on Blade and Sorcery is nothing compared to this single boss fight from Battle Talent. They are genuinely difficult to beat sometimes. Luckily, you'll soon figure out strategies to defeat each enemy type quickly. You can tear apart skeletons quickly, or kick these little goblins away, or just use a gun. This game has the best arsenal of weapons I've seen in a VR game. The sheer variety and novelty of these weapons is awesome, but the fact that there's also built-in mod support is just even more awesome, which means you can download different user-created weapons and enemies to fight. All I personally did was punch Bonnie here in the face, but I've seen some amazing modded fights from other creators. Now, don't get me wrong, Battle Talent certainly does have its flaws. The stabbing kinda sucks. The enemies defy the laws of physics with how fast they can attack. By default, getting hit will stun you and move you back, which can be incredibly disorienting. But for what it offers and at half the price of the competition, Battle Talent is more than worth the $20 asking price, which is why I agreed to do this sponsored video for them. That's right, full disclosure time, this video is sponsored, but I'm gonna level with you. 90% of the script I had already written before they even reached out. I actually planned on covering Battle Talent in one of my very first videos on this channel, but as I waited for the right moment to make this video, the game underwent a huge update, so that's why I was happy to check out the game again when they reached out. As always, my thoughts are my own. And of course, Blade and Sorcery still definitely has a place in my VR game rotation, especially because of the Assassin's Creed mods. Speaking of Assassin's Creed and VR, make sure you're subscribed so you can see what I thought of that game. It was a huge release and I'm really excited to talk about it. But thanks for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and a comment because it actually helps me with the algorithm a lot. I'm Virtual Bro, and I'll see you later. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Like, I'm hoping you'll watch another one of my videos soon. Maybe even right now. Just click one of those. Or not. It's no, it's cool. I'm not offended. Okay, bye.